Hey, what's going on, everybody? Max here with BB, and today for 10 Minutes Max, we're going to be talking about arguably my favorite ticker in the entire market, PEPE. Guys, it has been a long road. It has been a long time coming. We've gone over in detail what is truly required for PEPE, the frog, the king frog, the prince of this cycle, to truly hop to new heights. And Ethereum and IWM are almost there. IWM is there, but together as a pair, the two prerequisites required for PEPE to hop to new heights, never before seen. So for today's video, we are going to be going over some really fun stuff, guys. We're going to be talking about PEPE, going over some pairs, some dominance charts, and really just doing a quick rundown, hopefully right before we are getting ready to hop to those new heights that I was just insinuating. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into the video, guys. Like I said, we're going to have some fun today, all right? If you came here for 100 R euro scalps, then you are on the wrong video. We're going to be doing some high time frame analysis, guys. So here's the PEPE chart, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to start off talking about some potential cyclical targets. Okay, so this should be kind of a fun way to start the video, all right? So what I usually do when it comes to high time frame targets is first and foremost, I will identify an accumulation, right? So I'll find range high of said accumulation. I will then find range low, right? And then I usually start with like a 1618 fib extension, but we'll often add on something like the 2618. And then I'll also I like to add on a few of them. 1618 is my favorite, right? So once you identify your range, right, put it in log mode, of course. Range high, range low, look for some mid-range confluence. Start with your 1618. I also like the 1414. And you kind of just view that spot between, in log mode, you view that spot between your 1618 and your 1414 as sort of your slot, right? Like, I don't know what you'd want to call it, right? But I'll just call it a slot. It's kind of our little slot, okay? Where you can expect somewhat of a reaction, okay? So I like the 1618 to 1414. And as we look back in hindsight at the first PEPE reaccumulation being, range high, range low, mid-range as confirmation, you can see that the first top for PEPE here after this crazy 10x that happened in like a month, see it was 12x in 38 days, close enough. We did in fact top kind of in this slot, right? The golden slot, we'll call it. And then, there's some other examples, right? Like let's just go through a few of them, right? And we'll look for that kind of similar confluence. We'll take this high down to the low, right? So then after the 10x, we top in the golden slot. Then from that high to the wick low, it was like a 60% drop or something like that. We topped again in the interim right between our 1618 and our 1414. And what you'll notice is that certain charts really like to play the same fib sets. So PEPE's frequency, to me so far, seems like it really likes that 1618 to 1414. There's some other charts that like different fib sets. But studying these things in hindsight can really help you figure out, where we're most likely to see that kind of fib confluence happen again. So range high, range low, obviously some decent interaction with the mid-range, right? So now we've had two examples of, long reaccumulations to golden slot or golden pocket, whatever you want to, call it, breakouts. Let's keep it moving. So now looking at another fib set here, guys. We'll look at the most recent pump, right? This long reaccumulation into the Coinbase listing pump. And then, of course, ETH was pumping at that time as well. So we'll take this high down to the low, right? And look where we topped again, right? So now I've shown you 3 high time frame examples where every time PEPE has had a significant pump. Now, of course, you could argue like, okay, we pumped here, right? And oh, this was a pump. But I'm talking like higher time frame, prolonged reaccumulation, like real high time frame pumps, right? Long reaccumulation pump. long, but kind of interim reaccumulation, finish the pump, long reaccumulation pump. Up until the all-time high, these are the three big pumps that we've had, right? And this was obviously a pretty significant rally here, you know, 4.5x. So, it seems like each ticker, like I was saying, has sort of a frequency, right? And as far as I can tell, Pepe's frequency, it really likes to respect this pocket. So let's have some fun and let's speculate a little bit here on where could that next slot potentially be, right? So now in similar fashion, going from high to low, let's see what we can find on our current range. Range high, range low. There is some interaction with your mid-range, right? Range high, range low. We do have a little bit of interaction with it, certainly recently there were a couple rejections. So I think that this is very much so your range, your next high time frame reaccumulation. Okay. So this is how I'm viewing the current setup as it stands. Range high, range low, enough interaction with the mid-range, and our next golden slot for Pepe is right up in this region. Okay. So that'd be 0.0000569 all the way to potentially 798. All right. So I think that makes sense, just given historically what's happened for Pepe pumps to keep an eye on, right? There's so much evidence pointing to this idea of, that golden slot, that 1414, 1618 after prolonged reaccumulations. This one makes a lot of sense. Now, something else that I like to do, you'll see I've got the 2618s up here, 3618s. These levels play also. And I like to look for confluence with, previous range accumulations and potential future ones to look for kind of confluent levels. So, when I look at this chart, I say, okay, your most important level is going to be your 1414 and 1618, right? But within all of that, you also have a 2618 from, this little accumulation. You've got a 2618 that kind of intersects perfectly with your next, hopefully next, golden slot, right? See how that one intersects, right? So that could be a very interesting level, some fib confluence there. Moving up a little bit further, right? We also have some fib confluence with these 2618s right here. So these are definitely on the table as well, where your 2618 of your first reaccumulation and your 2618 of your third reaccumulation. So I'll just mark these out quick. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's a terrible one. There's your 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your first range 2618 and your third range 2618 are pretty much at the same level, very close, right? So it's something to keep an eye out for. My big level kind of immediately that I'll be watching for will be when this pump finally begins, looking for this level to get hit. But here's the thing about it, right? Here's very much so the thing about it that I think a lot of people, you're maybe thinking like, what do you mean? Like, we're only going to pump here? Like, what about 69 billion? This would be what, like 30 billion or something like that? I don't even know what it would be. 30 billion maybe. So here's the thing. We don't have to just go up and be done. Furthermore, I'd actually be a little bit surprised if it was just like one more spurt and then we're done. We very well might do something like this, where when we start pumping, we'll go, right? We'll start pumping. And we'll maybe put in an interim top somewhere in this slot, right? And then from there, we can do something like this, right? And we can take this high to a future data set, right? Wherever it may be. And then we can prospect, this next golden slot. Okay. So we could do something like this very easily. We could pump up. We could pump up, then reaccumulate, and then continue on our merry way, right? Like, we don't have to just go one more pump and then be done. We don't have this data yet, so therefore we don't have fibs for it yet. But it wouldn't surprise me at all to see another set present itself, and we tag these 2618s, and this 1618 and 1414 that, again, we don't have the data for yet. Okay, so I would just kind of keep that in mind. Like, don't just think we have like one more burst and then we're done. Like, this could very well be the beginning of, a much longer rally. Like, in terms of reaccumulation, this is one of the longer reaccumulations that we've had. I mean, without question. And if you want to look at it a little bit differently as well, like, we've basically been reaccumulating since, March. Like, all of this minus the deviation, of the Coinbase listing is just one giant reaccumulation. Like, we might end up ripping for another year, right? Have multiple rips or something like that. But just going over some high time frame levels, like, I just wanted to share this the frequency, right? I wanted to share with you my finding that Pepe really likes to observe the 1414 through 1618 when you clearly identify the reaccumulation. So this will certainly be an interesting level to keep an eye out for. And actually, one thing I want to do is I want to look at the Pepe market cap real quick and just see what that level would be. So this is a Pepe. I just changed the y-axis to the Pepe market cap. So this is 4.328 billion right now. So let's just throw that same fib set on there and just see what that would be. So this would be 24 to 34 billion. It seems like usually the 14 you get a little above the 1414, so maybe 25 billion. That is probably going to be where we pause temporarily. And then we'll be looking to play a reaccumulation, and a big bounce from there. Okay. So I would say just kind of keep that back of mind. Obviously, I'll be here making updates and things along the way. We have to remain flexible. And just because it worked in the past every time doesn't mean it's going to work again. We only have, a few data points. But just wanted to go over that real quick. I guess that was like 12 minutes. But either way, fun way to start. Yeah, fun way to start. So, let's keep it moving. So I also want to talk about the similarities between this move and the one that we had in 2023. All right, so let me pull back up just the normal Pepe chart. We're going to use Gate because Gate has the most price history. And we will delete our fibs because we've already talked about it. So, the big theme right now is, people are really hung up on this, the like Ethereum strength, and they're calling Pepe dead, right? Which I take personally because I'm one with the frog, right? All the frog and all of the frog beta. I am one with it. And I do my best to just provide objective analysis and levels, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it works more than it doesn't. And, I think something that's been plaguing a lot of people in crypto for quite some time, mostly beginners, I would say, is that they're only focused on one metric, right? The only metric that they care about is current price. They don't care about anything else. So if something is not like pushing new highs, or something is lagging, they just proclaim to the world that it's dead. When in reality, like, if something is fundamentally uncorrupted, then if it's at a discount or it's off of its all-time high, but it's fundamentally like uncorrupted and it's a solid asset, then that's called a discount and you buy more, right? That's not when you proclaim something dead. Something is dead when like the fundamentals of it have changed. The thesis has materially changed. So I look at Pepe and I say, like, this is just like the biggest beach ball underwater that maybe we've ever seen. So let's put down ETH right below. And I want to talk, and I know maybe I'm a broken record. I know some of you are probably like, we've already seen this, but I really think some people need a reminder, right? And maybe even those of you that like truly believe it will appreciate the reminder. I'm going to just quickly highlight unhealthy price action, okay? This is what we've seen since Pepe pumped over here in March, January, February, March of last year and put in its top right here. We've seen nothing but an unhealthy, like parasitic relationship between Pepe and Ethereum. And the proof of it is in the structural divergences between beta and alpha. In order for your beta to run, your alpha needs to be like ripping, right? To have a sustained move. Beta can pump on any given day. But to have a sustained move, you need that runway cleared by your alpha, okay? ETH has been kind of a dog this cycle up until recently. What we saw here was Pepe making a higher high and ETH making a lower high. Therefore, Pepe gets stuffed, right? It ran out of runway because the alpha never went on to make a new high, okay? Do you see the difference? Same thing over here, right? Pepe made a higher high, and I'll just make these green because why not? Pepe made a higher high. And again, Ethereum over here did not follow suit. Okay. It kind of made a new high, but not really. It was basically flat, right? So you can see the structural shifts here, the divergence. I mean, Pepe went up from above this high, an extra 60%, and Ethereum basically just hit the same level. Okay. So structurally, not a productive setup. Although we were all cheering for Pepe to do well, that's why it kept getting stuffed, is because you're seeing these structural inefficiencies present themselves where Pepe just simply is running out of alpha. On-chain liquidity, on-chain wealth creation was not occurring while Pepe was trying to move to new highs. If your alpha, which is arguably the backbone of most on-chain liquidity pools, being Ethereum, is not also appreciating at the same time that Pepe is appreciating, you simply run out of runway, right? There's a ceiling that simply cannot be broken. So this Pepe outperformance, and again, this is in log mode. This is really how it looked, okay? This is how the chart really looked. When you see your beta outperforming your alpha by this much, it can be very problematic, right? And that's why Pepe got stuffed so many times and was unable to break out despite looking like it wanted to. We had high hopes that Ethereum would join it in December. It simply couldn't get it done, okay? Now, I want to talk about how healthy the current move is, okay? What we're seeing right now is the exact opposite, okay? The exact opposite. What you are seeing is Ethereum putting in structural higher highs, right? Looking really solid. Just go from like this high, this high, this high, whatever, okay? ETH moving up and Pepe moving down, right? And now everybody's going like, oh, Pepe's dead. Pepe's never going to pump again. Look at ETH is so far off the floor and Pepe's, still stuck on the mat, right? And I say to you, well, look, I explained to you why. I explained to you why this was actually unhealthy, despite the awesome outperformance. It was so fun while it was happening, dogging on ETH. Who needs to hold ETH when you can hold Pepe? I said that many times, and I still believe it. The same exact thing actually happened over here. Okay, the same exact thing actually happened over here, where you saw Ethereum ripping, and you saw Pepe actually bleeding during that time. And this is the sign of a very healthy alpha-beta relationship, okay? Your alpha leading, creating liquidity, creating on-chain wealth, liquidity pools getting frothy, and then one day we turn the jets on. Now, let's dive into some more specifics in terms of phases, right? Like where are we? When can we start ripping? Let's dive into this one over here, okay? Because I really think we are approaching a very, very similar move, okay? So let's identify it in phases to keep it really simple, okay? Phase 1, you see a breakdown. Both are bleeding. They pump off the floor together. Okay, we'll put that in blue. So Pepe pumps off the floor. ETH pumps off the floor. Okay, both in blue. And then what you see is Ethereum ripping. Put that in green. And at the same time, Pepe's actually moving down slightly. Okay. And then one day they just turn the jets on and your beta goes. And when does the beta go, right? Well, we could look at ETH and say, okay, within this uptrend, right, there was a little correction. ETH gets back above, goes back into up-only mode, and then very shortly after this correction, while in the green phase, then Pepe starts going, right? So when I look at our current structure, I see nothing but similarities, right? ETH rallies off the floor. Pepe rallies off the floor. They rally together off the floor, right? And then what happens? Pepe bleeds. Chop, bleed, frustrating. Why is it not following? Blah, 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 blah. Right? And now we're in this green zone where ETH is ramping. ETH is ramping. Pepe's chop solidating. Everybody's getting frustrated. We are also in a very similar kind of intra-green phase correction, right? And it's this level, comparable to this level back in February of 2024. ETH is about to get back above that high, okay? And not only is ETH about to get back above that high, when it gets back above that high, that's a new all-time high for Ethereum. That's price discovery, okay? So it's more significant. But when I look at these charts together, I say, yeah, this is the exact same thing that we've seen before. And this is an embodiment of a healthy relationship between beta and alpha, unlike what we saw the past 18 months or maybe a year, right? Where Pepe was making higher highs while ETH was making lower highs. ETH was bleeding more than Pepe. This is a return to an efficient relationship. This is a return to what we need in order to have a sustained move from our Ethereum beta, which Pepe still is, very much so. All right. So this is a longer, more tedious version of what we saw over here in late 2023 through early 2024. One day, Ethereum will be pushing 5K. Pepe is going to be up here. People are still going to be dogging it. They're going to be tagging me in comments and DMing me. They're going to be going, Max, you said when Ethereum gets in price discovery, Pepe will start ripping, and Pepe's up like 8% today, but it's not ripping yet. And I'm going to say to them, watch the video, okay? It takes a little bit of time, but give it like a week or two. That lag will shrink. We will become very efficient. We will start moving hard. Give it a little bit of room to breathe, okay? It's going to pop up. It's going to chop a little bit, and then it's just going to go. And within a matter of 2 to 6 weeks, you are most likely going to be at that next 1414 through 1618, that golden slot, okay? It's really not that complex. Now, we're also going to look at an Ethereum pair here, okay? So Pepe, USDT, and we'll find the gate chart because it's got the most price history. We'll multiply that by a lot so we can get the y-axis and log, and then we'll throw this down in USDT. And then I need to move this to a new pane below. I need to put this in regular mode, and I need to put it in log, and then I need to put it in candles, okay? So now what I want to show you guys is not only structurally are we returning to a very healthy set of price action, right? One that I firmly believe is going to be conducive to a sustained move from Pepe, one that finally allows us to break higher. It's lining up with Ethereum. It's very similar to the healthy price action that we saw in late 23 through early 24. We've got our fib levels marked out. Everything's looking really solid. It's just a matter of days, if not weeks. It is coming so soon to a chart near you. But we're also going to be looking here for another bit of confluence at the Pepe Ethereum pair. Okay, so let me mark these out because now it can be a little bit confusing. So here's Pepe up top. Here's Pepe ETH, which we can put in, I don't know, we'll just put it in purple. Why not? We'll put it in purple. We'll make the chart purple too. I like to just, I like to use the colors because I think it helps people. Some people are really visually driven, and I think the colors can help people stay organized. What we've been seeing, again, is, so for one, Pepe and Ethereum, the beta alpha relationship is returning to a healthy, sustainable valuation and relationship for the first time in a year, right? This should be celebrated, not frowned upon. And the proof of that is in the Pepe Ethereum pair chart, which is just Pepe divided by ETH, the relative valuation of beta versus alpha. Now we're going to zoom in and take a little bit of a closer look on these healthy sets of price action. Okay, so here is Ethereum, PEPE. Here's the PEPE ETH pair in the middle, and then here is Ethereum down below. Okay, so what did we see during this time? Okay, what we saw was PEPE Ethereum bleeding aggressively as ETH was moving higher. PEPE was chopping lower. You saw the PEPE Ethereum pair bleeding down, right? Shouldn't be surprising to you guys. And what it did here is it basically came back and put in a double bottom. Okay. And I'll just highlight this a little more clearly. It put in a double bottom. Okay. So after months of bleeding, bottoms, bounces a little bit, comes in for double bottom, and then it ripped, right? Then it ripped. PEPE ripped like 12x, ETH kept ripping, but the PEPE Ethereum pair ripped from that double bottom 7x in 3 weeks. Okay, insane move. So much fun. Now, if we look at what we're doing right now, zoom in a little bit. Again, we have ETH moving up. We have PEPE chop solidating / bleeding. And we have the PEPE ETH pair doing what? Okay, doing what? The PEPE ETH pair looks to me like it may in fact be putting in that same double bottom right now, live on the show, live on the YouTube channel, that we saw at the very, very tail end of this reaccumulation, right? So not only are the charts looking incredibly similar and the relationships looking incredibly similar, but the pair chart structurally, after months and months of bleeding, right? You kind of had the same high, right? The blow off high. And then you had, the horrible bleed. And then you had this thing, right? Where it rolls over, right? And it just bleeds incessantly while ETH is ripping. And everybody goes, I should have just bought ETH. But to me, it very much so looks like this pair is coming in for a double bottom, just like it did over here in very early Q1 2024, right? So even more confluence to this idea that this is a healthy relationship. This is a healthy pair chart relationship. The valuation has reset. We have plenty of runway given what ETH has been able to accomplish since May, moving up from like 1,400 now to 4,700, right? It is just a matter of days, if not weeks. One day you will wake up, PEPE will be up 9%, 10%, 15%, and it's just going to start cooking. It's that simple, right? And it's most likely going to happen precisely when Ethereum gets back above this high, just like over here. You have a little correction within your green zone. And when that correction happened, PEPE was coming out of its gully, right? And it's just going to go, right? And it's just going to go, and it's going to be glorious. So this is not where you get shaken out and proclaim something to be dead because it hasn't followed recently. This is where you go, oh, this thing is set up for success. This is one of the best potential risk to reward opportunities in the market for large caps that I can size into. This thing has held up tremendously through a very, very grueling cycle. And all I need to do is just wait to see what happens when ETH finally gets above its all-time high. That little black line with the circle right there gets above 48, 4,900. It's going to be pretty revealing what's about to happen next. All right. Now we're also going to look at PEPE dominance. Okay. So what is PEPE dominance, guys? PEPE dominance is how much of the crypto asset class PEPE represents, right? It's like Bitcoin dominance, but with the frog. So when I look at the PEPE dominance chart here, guys, it looks really good to me. This looks very, very, very coiled to me. So really, at its core, what this is just kind of PEPE divided by total, okay? So it's just PEPE, how much of crypto it represents. So right now it's 0.10%. Okay, so PEPE makes up 0.1% of all of crypto. All right, and to me, I say, well, look at this trend line, right? Look at this trend line going across the highs, right? Compression, right? And look where this bottom is forming, right on top of this demand zone, right? So when I look at this, I say, PEPE very well could this cycle make it up to like the 1618. For dominance, right? Which would be maybe just under 1%. Now, if we want to, and we don't have a lot of data on this chart, right? if we want to look at it a little bit differently, you know, we could say, all right, we know that the PEPE USD chart really likes that golden slot, right? The PEPE USD chart really likes that golden slot, that 1414 to 1618. Now, I want to show you something, okay? I want to show you something. This level right here is an important level. Now, the reason this is an important level is because it's 0.69%. And we know that PEPE USD likes to top just above the 1414. And when you look at the PEPE dominance chart, you can say, 0.69% is right above the PEPE dominance 1414. Maybe, just maybe. It's crypto after all, right? Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you liked the video. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, leave me something before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys next Monday for another 10 minutes max. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe and take care.